Welcome to the Concept 101 podcast. My name is Daniel.
I'm Jules.
I'm Stefan.
We have 3 concept artists currently working in the film and games industry, as well as the organisers of the Concept 101 event in London. If you haven't listened to our podcast before, we have a general structure, which is where we each bring a different topic to the table and we talk about them for the length of the episode. And I think this time, Jules is going to start us off.
Yeah, and we're going to start with a bit of a broken subject, which is going to be separated in 2 ways. The first thing is, as you've probably seen with the intro, and as we announced about a month or 2 ago, we now have a date for this year's Concept 101, which is the 30th of August. It's going to be in the same venue that we did last year.
Woo! Yeah! Yay! Stefan, you're not clapping. There we go.
Why did you say it was a broken subject? It's not a broken subject.
No, he means it's 2 separate
Yeah.
subjects.
It's a broken up subject.
Yeah. Get with it, dude.
But, so we're very excited about this. We don't have that much to announce yet. Hopefully this podcast comes out before we announce all the exciting stuff coming up linked to the event. There's many things you can expect of returning things that we did the other years.
We're hoping to have some amazing speakers.
Yeah. We already been in talks with a lot of very cool ones, which we're very excited about, which haven't come to previous
It's just
events.
the 3 of us.
Yeah.
We're each doing 2 talks each.
Yes. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah.
Wow, that must have been really bad.
Yes.
Whatever you were thinking. Amazing.
Every year we get together and we write a wish list of people that we wanna
want on the
we want a podcast, and it's a very happy time when we do it.
Yeah.
We don't get to, unfortunately.
We are full of
invite
hope.
everyone. Yeah, we're like, and Ian McKay will come.
I think we pretty much always get. I mean, not everybody.
No.
We fill nearly everybody. We always want to come, which is awesome.
Nathan Fawkes, if you're listening.
It's definitely getting easier, I think, to get people on our events, just because. We talked about this in the past, but the first year was like, please, we're not a scam. Come.
Yeah.
The second year is like, well, see, we're not a scam, we told you. And now it's more like, yeah, come. And they're like, yeah, we're coming, which is great. So a bit of a weird flex, but yeah, it's nice to be able to have
A functioning event.
Yeah, functioning event acquired a reputation, and things are getting like, we're quite excited for this year, and
it's all thanks to you guys listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Although weirdly now, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but we also run a lot of drink and draws, and now more people know us from the podcast than from the event, which is really bizarre because the event is so much more of a. I love doing the podcast, but to me, the event is a much more meaningful thing, and the podcast is part of the event.
Yeah.
And it's very strange now that we have people coming up to us whenever, not that people are coming up to us in the street, but at like things that, people would know us at.
Yeah.
People would be like, oh yeah, I love listening to the podcast. You're like, well, I hope you're excited for the event. And they go, event?
What's
What
that?
event?
Do you mean the next drink and draw? And you're like, no.
News and meetup. Also because an event takes a year to do, right? And a lot of business talks, a lot of like a bit painful stuff we have to do, which we don't really like doing.
Reading through
Emails, contracts, like money talk, all that kind of stuff. Which a lot of efforts for. We're happy, usually a great result, and we're hoping is going to be great this year as well.
Yes.
And the podcast is literally in my living room. The guys come to my house and we're like, "Have you guys thought of a subject?" And we're like, maybe, and then we talk about it like maybe for 15 minutes. We're like, okay, we're going to talk about this. Like, are you sure that's good for the podcast? Or maybe, and then we do it.
And that's why it's bad, guys.
That's why it's bad. But then people seems to be like really liking it for some people, I hope. And so it's like a very different effort reward compared to the event, which is a lot of effort. And some good reward. We're happy to do it, of course, but the podcast is on another level, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, it is really fun, and we enjoy doing it. But it's great to have the event officially announced and officially happening
On the 30th of August.
Yeah, and we're very on the way to. A lot of years when we announce it, we're like, oh, are we going to make the funding this year? Are we going to have to dish like 10K out of pocket?
Yeah.
And this year, thankfully, it's all gone quite smoothly, actually. And it's all going ahead very nicely. So we're really excited for it, and we hope you guys are excited too.
Yeah.
We also definitely get, like everyone, we learn with experience. And I think this year, third time's a charm, I guess. As fellow English people say. Basically, I don't know, I'm just bullshitting. But yeah,
Could you bullshit us into a segue of the second part of this?
So yeah, it's great to go to events. We want to make more events and go to more events. Speaking of which, we went to IAMAG.
What?
What?
Tell me more about it. I wasn't there.
Daniel and Stefan, this is the segment when Stefan doesn't talk.
Yeah, actually, I was lying. I was there. I just wanted to add some mystery to it.
Yeah.
You were there in spirit.
I saw your talk before you guys did.
Yeah.
I was forced to listen to it. They tied me to a chair and put those little things that like open your eyes and you can't close them. Yeah, and then Daniel's looking at me like he hates me right now.
No, because we did, obviously, so me and Jules had the really wonderful opportunity to do a talk, which was actually great because that was both of us said that was something for our New Year's resolution. Yeah. So it was really great, actually so soon after we had recorded that, a few months into the new year, being able to, be invited thanks to Framestore and going and doing a talk at such a great event like IAMAG, which was totally awesome. And obviously as part of that, doing a lecture, we rehearsed it a lot and a lot and a lot.
It takes a lot of work to come, because we know it's not a talk that someone gave us a USB stick and they do that. It's like
we wrote it all ourselves.
We decided what we were going to talk about, we got it approved, and then we had to, Dalian and me, spend the hours of writing our bits and practice it and blah blah.
Yeah, and we did make Stefan listen to it because we wanted to do it in front of him. But I gotta say, you were probably the singular worst audience member I think I've ever had.
You're on your phone.
He spent most of the time on his phone, and then at one point got up, went into our kitchen, and just started smashing, smashing stuff together. And he was like, "I'm listening," from the other room. Then he got a phone call halfway through, and I was like. The only positive from it, honestly, was that I thought, well, at least no one's going to do this when we're on stage.
I remember Dan, when I was doing all this random shit, being like, it's actually good that I'm saying it in front of a shitty audience. It's good practice.
Yeah, but it was good, and I think it was a really enjoyable time being on stage and chatting, and it was cool. It was lots of unexpected things. There was one thing where we rehearsed. I don't know. So probably by the time this podcast comes out, you won't be able to take advantage of this anymore. But for about a week, our talk was free on the IAMAG website, which was really cool. Opened a lot more people up to being able to see it without paying for the subscription. So it's super nice of Patrice to do that. Especially since I would like to think it was quite a beneficial talk for a lot of students that we made, because we spoke about creating good portfolios and best practices and stuff. The stuff that we constantly repeat on this podcast.
I talked for 6 minutes about fundamentals. So.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's another 25 to the tally.
Yeah.
Exactly. Every time I talk about fundamentals, it's
ding,
ding, ding, ding.
But it was quite funny because, like we said, we rehearsed it loads and loads and loads of times. And there's one specific moment in the talk where
oh my God.
I
heard about this.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I heard about this story. Oh, this is funny.
There's this slide that comes up, and the whole talk that we did was about the oh man, I've literally forgotten what they were called.
Deal breakers.
The deal breakers of the talk.
Wait. 3,
No.
2.
No. I got to get to the story before you start making jokes about it.
I just wanted to do it again badly.
But so this slide comes up. There's this big bomb gif, and the preface to the slide is, now we wanted to give you guys the context for how to make a good portfolio. We didn't want to just give you the same points that everybody else does, and so we wanted to phrase this on a slightly different way. We wanted to phrase it through the deal breakers, which was something that we rehearsed saying at exactly the same time a lot, literally 35 times per row.
While the massive bomb explodes behind us. So it was a very funny, epic moment.
They mean a bomb PNG video, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Not the FBI, do not arrest us. But the whole bit was we were this will be really funny and cringe because we'll be saying at the same time while this cringe gif is on screen, and hopefully we'll just get an awkward laugh from the crowd to loosen everybody up. The problem was that, well, this is what Jules says happened. But apparently I had practiced a very particular set of words prior to this GIF slide change. And I didn't say the final word that usually indicated the change. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so what happened was I went, and so we've created and we can recreate this now, Jules. I clicked the slide and went, deal breakers.
Deal breakers.
And then I went, we both looked at each other oh fuck, did we just do that at the wrong time? And we had like an awkward laugh, and then I went, guys, sorry, we're meant to do that at the same time. It's meant to be funny. And they're like, let's do it again. And I went, deal breakers.
Deal breakers.
Yeah.
No, the second time
couldn't get it at the same time.
The second time was definitely my fault because I think I was like, I mean, it was funny. I don't think any.
It was funny for us.
It was no. I think it was funny for everyone.
Is that on video?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I need to find this.
I watched the recording and it's very. I mean, it's funny for us, I guess, because we know we know it. But in the context, people don't know that, so
it just looked like even more intentional cringe.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end, I mean, it's us being funny by mistake.
You guys should be comedians. I mean, unbelievable.
There's a funnier thing that's on recording from a talk, actually, of me, this is just worse, which is at GFD North, which was this cool event that was happening a few years ago in Manchester. There was, they had a full camera crew, they recorded all the talks, and I was sitting next to Stefan, and somebody was talking on stage, and I decided I'll ask a question. And so the camera panned around to me. I stood, and it was cinema seats, so like they fold back up after you stand up. And so I stood up to grab the microphone, and then I went back to sit down. I just fell straight onto the ground with the microphone. I was like, so my question, and then I had to like awkwardly get myself up out of the seat, look at the camera and be like, so my question. Oh my God. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, why did that have to be on camera? Yeah, probably my finest moment, I think. But luckily that didn't happen at IAMAG. We didn't fall over.
No, we didn't fall over.
We're very grateful to everybody who turned up. We had a full crowd, which was lovely, especially since it was the first talk in the morning, which made us feel very special that everybody turned up. And we really do appreciate, if anyone's listening who came to the talk, that you guys came. Had some really good questions afterwards. There were a few kind of funny questions that I think we could repeat. There was one person asked, I think
how do you tell a director his idea is shit?
Yeah, that was the question. Yeah. And it was really funny because
I mean I'm phrasing it in an extreme way, but that's pretty much what it was. Yeah.
He like picked up the microphone and no hate to this guy.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very genuine like question, but it was funny within the context because he picked up the microphone. We've had some other questions, and he went, so I guess my question is, what do you do like when a director just has a bad idea? Like, how do you tell them that it's not good? And me and Jules like looked at each other and we were like, I'd never do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you already said it, but just to rephrase it, we're not making fun of the guy saying this, but it's a very funny question because we all think about this a lot, and we all wish. It's like we're like, oh, little do you know, we wish we could say that, but we can't. Yes. And so the answer was like, well, you don't. You just do what the fuck they want, and hopefully you can also show something a bit better. But first, you have to do what they want.
Yes.
But yeah, that was quite funny.
There was another funny question. Somebody asked, like, where do you get clients from?
Yeah.
And then we had to get Martin, our boss, to answer that one because we were both like, I don't know if that's our purview of like it's not really our department, like getting people to work with us. So that was kind of amusing.
You just go sneak into the hotel rooms.
Is that how things work at Shark Mob?
Stefan, go. Use the address.
You sneak into the hotel and then you like slide a little note into their room. Be like, please hire me.
I have sharks.
And you could say a whole in your hotel.
A whole mob of them, maybe. But yeah, it was really fun. We did some portfolio reviews after, which was great. I think we did them for like nearly 3 hours straight, which was awesome.
Was it 3 hours?
It was a long time, yeah.
It is much more draining than I thought.
I was totally fine with it. I think you're just a coward.
I was like, no, but I think it's also like I mean, personally, for
you
me,
were switching languages. I think
I did it in French and English, but also it was straight after the talk, and like this doing a talk meant a lot for me because it was like something I really wanted to do for a long time. So I think it was like the whole pressure going down, like fucking hell, it's done. We did it, and then I was like, oh, okay, a lot of like almost like when you finally on holidays, then you become sick because it's like all the pressure of your body, like releasing.
Yeah, I think we both had very different reactions to it. Like afterwards, I was like, "Oh, it's done, great," and I was like back to normal. And then you were like, "Oh, it's done," and it's like your body just was like, "I'm done now." As well.
I can die. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Also, very funny. Like we said that you started to stress more while I was speaking because you would think that it's your turn soon.
Yeah.
However, I tend to stress more while I was speaking because I'm like, I am speaking, I can't fuck up.
Well,
which is it's funny how we both end up stressing at parts, but for different reasons. For me, it was like, I'm doing it right now, I can't fuck up. And for you, it's like, I'm about to do it, I can't fuck up.
I think it was also watching you do it as well stressed me out a little bit. I mean, we spoke about this a tiny bit. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but
Jules looking stressed. Daniel
it was like,
oh my god,
I don't think anybody could have told that you were stressed, but because I've known you for so long and so well, I could see when you were talking that you were a little bit stressed.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like even just like, I mean, it's that thing, you know, when you know someone so well, like the way their shoulders move when they breathe, kind of thing. Yeah. And so I was looking at you getting a little bit stressed while you were talking. I was like, you know, even after I had like spoken like 2 seconds ago, I'd be like, fuck, is it that bad up there? Is it that bad? The funniest thing about our talk though was, beyond us bombing jokes and having funny questions, was we didn't quite figure out the layout of our stage until we were right in the middle of the talk. Yeah. So we had a very narrow space to walk around. And Jules loves to walk. I'm more of a standstill, rooted in one place kind of person. And there was a big table where our laptop was with the presentation, and we were constantly just rotating around the table. Yeah. So if you see the talk online, I don't know if it's like that visible from where the cameras are and the way they edit it, but essentially every time that Jules would speak, he would walk the whole way around the table back to the front, and I would walk the whole way around the back of the table. Yeah. And so we were just doing this like nice little 360 degrees merry-go-round whenever we were talking, which was quite funny because we both needed to press the buttons when we wanted to press them.
Yeah, to change the slides.
But it was a great time, and I really enjoyed it. There were loads of other really good talks. Emmanuel Shu, Aaron Sims, Feng Zhu's one, I think, was a real highlight.
Yeah.
You met what's his name?
George Hull.
George's talks was great.
Got to meet him and have him look at my portfolio, which was super cool.
It was a great place to talk with people, I guess, interact with people. Yeah, totally. It was like some bar sessions in the evening, which was quite nice.
Some of those professional guys, total maniacs at the bar, which was very. I think that's the most humanizing thing. Is like when some artist, I'm not going to specify who it was, but like when an artist you've admired for years, you know, and you're like, hey man, how you doing? Like, and it's like 1 a.m. at a bar, and they're like, I'm fucking sick, and then they like slam 7 tequila shots, and then like run out of the room like a little gremlin. But it was a really great time. I wanted to bring it up because talking about like funny questions, there was this guy in Emmanuel Shu's talk who I have to give credit to for having fucking ginormous balls. This is probably one of the most hardcore question I feel like you could ask a professional when they're on stage. And they had the whole thing. They were like, okay, the last question. And this dude gets the microphone and he's like, hi, Emmanuel. And Emmanuel's like, hi, nice to meet you. What's your question? And this dude goes, can you mentor me? Yeah. And everybody in the crowd, you hear like a,
He asked it.
The question. I've seen other people at events.
Yeah, at Industry Workshop, I've seen that as well.
But I credit to Emmanuel for answering it. Because he was talking a lot about like personal development, and I think his answer was something along the lines of, he was like, you know, man, he was like, I got a lot to develop in myself, and you know, I don't want to teach you, and I'm still teaching myself how to be a good artist. Yeah. And he was like, and then as he was saying this, they took the microphone away from the guy who was asking the question. And this dude was like, I got another question. And then the talk ended. But
I mean,
credit to them for asking.
Yeah, credit to him for asking. Credit to the guy for having the balls to ask the questions. I guess a better approach would be to talk to the person in private. But
it's a little bit like asking someone to marry you in front of a crowd. You know?
Yeah. I've seen that meme where it's like a guy asking to marry with there's a Mexican band next to him, and then the girl, she takes the guitar from the Mexican guitarist and she smashes the guitar on the guy's head.
Yeah.
What?
I'm pretty sure it's an advert for something. But yeah, it's funny.
It's one I proposed. I still heard.
No.
But it was a really fun event. It was nice being in Paris. We spent some great time with some friends, did lots of sketching, and yeah, it was really fun.
And yeah, we're most likely going to go to more events in the future, which we'll announce in due time.
Yeah, we have a bunch of them planned out. We've obviously, one of the advantages to running Concept 101, the event, rather than the podcast and internet stuff, is that we get to meet loads of people from lots of other amazing events. So we're hopefully looking to go to a bunch of them this year, and meeting loads of people. So that'll be really nice. Yeah. In fact, we're going, I mean, this will be out way after this, but we're going tomorrow to Vertex, which will also be really fun. Which is an interesting one because Vertex, that's where me and Stefan met each other.
Yes,
that's where I asked him to marry me in public.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it all started.
There wasn't any guitar available.
No, there were a lot of.
There was a VR headset. You were like, go and chat VR room with me.
But it's great. It is. I'm really excited actually to go back to Vertex because it was kind of like where my career really started. So I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point in the future, maybe about other events. But I'm very excited to go back purely for the prospect of the last time I was there, I was desperately trying to get a job, and now I can go back. It's like a victory lap, you know. I'm like, what's up?
No, that is not how I feel. I just want to say
that's not how you feel. Come on, man. What do you mean? You weren't working the last time. Now you got a great job. You're a very successful concept artist.
Thank you. I wanted to say one thing is weird that I'm on the Vertex website.
You are?
Yeah. Have you seen?
Oh, really? No.
I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but there's a picture of me on like the advertisement.
Really?
You showed it to me, Dan. Me in like in a gray.
I don't know
sweater.
if it's still there though.
It is still there. I remember looking at it recently. I think. Let me see.
It's your background.
Let's see if I can find it. But I think somehow I'm more excited about that than about me having or.
You're more excited about a random photo of you at an event from years ago.
I feel like that makes me more. I feel like that makes me more famous than me having like.
That is an insane opinion. I gotta say, wow.
I know. That's what I had to say.
Yeah. Well, on that insane opinion, should we move on to the next thing, or does anybody want to say anything more about events?
That was the end of our event review.
Wasn't really a review.
I know.
Saying it was good.
Oh, we won't be doing any reviews because
we're a bit too ingrained in the space, I think, to say anything. Yeah. Oh wow, that is a photo of you. Yeah. It's kind of just the back of your head, though.
And I'm so glad everyone watching us right now can see it as well.
Yeah, Jules, I know that you're not going to edit that in, but should we say edit it in?
Well, Stefan, can you send me a link?
I'll take a screenshot of this.
Okay, no. I'm not going to edit the image on the podcast.
Oh, sorry.
He's going to put a link,
and then people can.
Yeah, no one's gonna look.
As we said earlier, the podcast is very little amount of work.
Yeah, if Jules has to put in one single image.
If there's a link in the description, that's peak effort.
Talking about the amount of work that goes into things, this is a perfect segue. Ooh. I think it's really worth discussing, and this is a very big switch on topics, but I wanted to talk about supporting art. I think this is a really big deal these days. People talk a lot about AI and how it's going to influence the industry. And we've spoken many times about how the real contributing factor will be the economic effects of, like how popular anything made with AI actually is and how popular like real quote unquote art will remain. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about supporting art that matters, whether it's movies or TV or games or films or anything pretty much. Or just concept art. And if you've had any kind of active approach to doing that over the last year or so?
So, personally, no. But I guess it's like you can say the way you support art. For example, if there's for example, I go to watch Dune in the cinema. I don't watch that many things in cinema, but I would go to watch the Dune or Avatar in the cinema, just because for me that's movies that I want them to exist and be more of them. Whereas certain other types of movies,
and you still didn't go and watch Creator.
I did feel bad about it, but
I really thought that the head design was shit.
Yeah, no! Maybe
that's why you didn't watch it.
Can you rent it somewhere?
Yeah.
See, maybe I'll rent it.
It's on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
No, okay. Didn't go to the cinema because I didn't have the time. I don't know, for stupid reason. Then I was like, okay, I still want to support the movie, the creator, because I think it's very unique and it's quite nice, and I want to give money to that. So I bought the streaming version before it was on streaming platforms. I bought a version of it on Amazon.
Yeah.
£9.90, which is quite a lot for
less than a cinema ticket.
Yeah, less than a cinema ticket. 720p.
Yeah, that sucks.
720p. That's so bad quality. I felt like I was just ripped off. And then I checked, and you can pay £14 to get in HD, which should be the minimum to me.
Yeah.
Or maybe it wasn't 720. Actually, I think it was 720.
I think it was. 'Cause I remember you complaining about it.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe you know what? I guess I can just pay another £5 and get the full HD. No, you have to pay another £14 to get the full HD. So
don't support art.
or check what quality is it. Or go to the cinema. I don't know, but like it was a very frustrating. I mean, I'm glad the movie got the money, I guess. But
exactly, Jules.
But I think Jules's Amazon review aside, the point being, like, it's very worthwhile. Like we spoken before about like the films that we go and watch. Like as a group, I don't want to say anything like a negative opinion about the types of films I'm about to describe, because me and Jules work on a lot of these types of films. But I think generally as a group, when we get together to go and watch a film, or we go and see films separately, they're nearly always films that we feel like have some artistic integrity to them, generally, right? We're not usually the type of people to go and see films that are like pumped out, essentially, you know, like production films. And I think, like, you know, it's interesting because me and Jules and Stefan, we all went on the that other podcast recently, Courier. Is that what it's called? Yeah, which was great, and we had a lovely time. But one of the questions that I got was, this is not my words, but it's to quote the lovely fellow who interviewed us. It was, how do you stop bad films being made? I think was the gist of the question. And it was a really interesting question because it got me thinking about it. And of course the answer is by supporting good films. And
you know, like this, like the best way to voice your opinion against a product, well, the best way to say that you don't like it is not to buy it.
Yeah. Totally.
Like now on Amazon, you have to pay another like £3 per month.
Yeah.
Not to have ads.
Yeah.
And I think you have an average 3 minutes or 5 minutes of ads per hour on Amazon with the default membership.
Yeah.
Right.
Which you're still paying for.
Which you're still paying for, and you need to pay another £3 per month to remove the ads. Which again is crazy to me, but
it's crazy how streaming has just become TV.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. But you know, so if you're not happy with this, or if you don't like game as a service, then don't buy the battle pass. Yeah. Don't buy the thing, and that's the best way, I think, to voice your opinion as a person.
Yeah.
Then
in our system, right?
Yeah.
Where everything is equated by money.
Yeah. And then buy what you support as well, right? I think you can also extend that to art books. You know, like you like a movie, you really like the art of the movie,
buy it.
You can buy the movie and the art book.
I think one thing I've been, I probably do this because we're in the process of moving house, me and Stefan, I'll probably do it afterwards, is I've been considering getting a membership to either like Mubi or Curzon, because both of them are...
What's that?
So Mubi is a streaming site. We should probably be getting paid for this, but Mubi is a streaming site where it's like hand-picked films. So it's like films that are considered to be like, you know, 4 to 5 stars and above.
Yeah.
And I've actually used them to try and look for like good films to watch. I've seen some amazing recommendations on there, like things that you literally can't get anywhere else. And then I've tried to find them without the subscription, and I cannot find them anywhere else. And then Curzon is the cinema chain in London and in the UK, where they also do like a lot of art house films, and you can get like subscriptions to go to the cinema.
I heard about Curzon.
There's one like literally right next to us. But it's really interesting because I think like when you look at you know, the cinema experience and like what you're paying for and stuff, and all, you know, all these things, again, like, you know, the financial support, it's great to support vendors that support I would say like smaller, more quote unquote artistic projects. I don't want to say necessarily like indie, but just things with a bit of integrity to them, I guess, where like there's more to them than making a profit. I think that's why, like, I mean, I have my problems with like Tarantino's stuff, to be completely honest, but I think that's why his films have always done so well, because people know that is the singular vision of this one insane American man, and that's why they're enjoyable, because you go into it, you're not going to watch a film made by a production company, you're going to watch a Tarantino movie. Just the same with like Jordan Peele or Kubrick, or maybe Jordan Peele shouldn't be in the same sentence as Kubrick, but you know, the point being, it's great to go and see films by artisans. Like one I really want to go and see is Monkey Man, which looks really awesome with Dev Patel. And that's like exactly up my street. Small production crew, but with a decent budget, lots of passion behind
Lots of fighting,
great choreography. It looks awesome.
It's like a movie with a purpose.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
with
A vision.
with a creation, vision,
Yeah.
a creation purpose, like with someone needed to make that movie to fulfill his creation needs, and then luckily got the money for it. It's rather than someone going like, all right,
I've got 300 mil. What do I do?
yeah,
with
what
it?
do we do with King Kong now?
Give him a fist.
Okay, well, okay, that's gonna make lots of money. Cool, great.
I wonder, it's like movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, one of my favorites, yeah.
or like the TV show that you recommended me to watch that I still haven't watched, the sci-fi one.
Foundation?
With
Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's Reign,
Amazing.
exactly.
Oh, I need
like
to watch
stuff
that. I need to
stuff
watch
that's
that.
very seems like impossible that it will be made, but then it's made, and it's
I think
incredible.
even this is such a, you guys are gonna laugh at me for this, but I think even some films that are bad, like Fast and Furious.
Oh
for
no!
example.
I knew it was coming.
I know,
I was about to say
I know,
Fast and
I know,
Furious
I know.
jokingly because I
But-
knew you would say that.
But even, I mean, I don't like a lot of the more recent entries, but even ones like Tokyo Drift is a terrible film, but it is a terrible film with a vision behind it,
Tokyo
which kind
Drift
of makes it great.
It's great.
It is. It's
great.
It's a
But-
hilarious movie.
yeah.
But it's like, it's a film where like when you watch it, you can be like, okay, the director of this really wanted to make it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I look for these days in media. And I think if I can just like bring this to a slight sideways comparison here, I really look for this in the artwork that I support as well. I think these days it's a great idea to buy art books from people if you can, like directly if they're producing works. So like we met Corette at IAMAG, who are a really good publisher, and they support loads of artists and make books of their work. So that's great if you can buy stuff from there. We both bought a few while we were there.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, as maybe a slightly more, like negative point of view, it's also good to think about like if you have artists that you support, right? And for example, they start using AI, how do you react to that? Because for me personally, like over the last year, there's actually been a lot of people that I've started not to follow anymore. Or I've removed my subscription from them on ArtStation or Instagram or whatever, because all of their work, the stuff that I loved about their work, that identity has been dragged down by their usage of tools, quote unquote, which they've then, there's one particular person who I'm talking about, especially who like was this amazing artist, worked on so many cool projects, and then spent about 1.5 years just endlessly making like 3 AI images a day.
Yeah.
And then not even saying that they were AI, which was just like, I was just like gobsmacked by it. They had the fucking balls to do that. And, I think like, while maybe it's a little bit of a, controversial thing to say, I think within our industry, we also have to vote, okay, not necessarily with our wallets in this case, but with the attention that we give people's art, right? We have to provide attention to the right people. Like, if I can go on. Sorry, I've been ranting for too long. Go on.
I don't think that's controversial at all. I mean, especially when you talk about your Instagram feed, right? It's Instagram is just social media. If you see some stuff that you personally don't like, right? I mean, then you don't have to follow it, especially when you don't agree with it. And I don't see why we should.
Because I think like when you're in the industry, right, you like meet somebody maybe, and you get on along with them well, and you follow them because you're like, I love your art, I want to see what you create, right? And you follow them for that reason.
Yeah.
And then there is something difficult about potentially unfollowing somebody like that, right? Which in our cases, like we know a lot of professional artists and they know us. And so there have been people who I've like actively been like, all right, I'm not going to give your artwork any more attention anymore because of the processes you're using, which sucks to do because like they're people I might have actually met in real life as well. But I feel like almost like, for all of the talking that we do on the podcast about
everyone's
AI,
gonna see, is it still following me?
Yeah. But it's like for all the discussions we have about AI on the podcast and how we don't think it's like that productive, we don't think it's good for the future of our industry. I feel like it's almost like I would be like two-faced to not do it,
I think it's very good to voice your opinion. One bad thing I just want to nuance this. It's, I think a big problem that we have in general nowadays is that people tend to just close their eyes and just look at what they like and ignore anything else. And bad things don't exist, or what I don't agree with doesn't exist. And I'm just going to look at the nice stuff, and then I'm going to be influenced by not seeing the bad stuff, right? support the art that you like, support what you like, but it's also quite important to be aware of what's out there.
And I think, it's like very valuable what you said. And I just want to say as well, like a caveat to myself too, like, although obviously I was talking about, the fact that I deal fairly harshly with people who engage with like stuff that I don't really enjoy seeing on my feed. It's not like if somebody tries something out, I'm going to be like, well, fuck them. I'm done with them. I think there's a benefit of the doubt that you should give. Like, there's people I know who've used Viscom a few times and then they've been done with it. There's people I know who've used Midjourney a few times and they've been done with it. I think it's really just about the frequency that people use it with and like how much they shill for that technology to be used professionally. If somebody uses it once and then they never use it again, I'm like, okay, cool. They tried it. I don't think, sure, give it a go. I'm not sure why you made it public that you did it, but whatever. And then they move on. And I think that's totally fine. And like, I think it's just like, put your money where your mouth is, essentially, right? If you don't want to see AI art, then don't follow AI artists. If you don't want to see generic films, don't go and watch generic films. If you want to...
if you want to play amazing games, only buy amazing games.
Well, wait until reviews come out. Don't pre-order stuff, right? That's like the basic one. Pre-order is the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, I can't believe people pre-order games.
Can you imagine people pre-ordering movies?
Yeah. The most crazy thing is people pre-ordering like a deluxe version of a game before it's out. Like I don't understand. Especially like you're paying like maybe like £80 to £100 to £120 for a game before it's released.
Yeah.
So you have additional contents later. You don't even know if the base game is good.
You might get a nice bit of plastic.
Yeah, and you're paying more so you can access the beta where you're basically going to work for free for the game.
Yeah.
So we can play an unfinished game, right? And then you can play the game like maybe 3 days earlier at the actual release date when the other beta testers, when the actual journalists are gonna play the game. But I don't really like for 3 days. Come on, like you can just wait, read the reviews. Of like maybe read a few of them so you have a wide point of views to actually like decide if you're gonna buy the game or not, and then buy it. But it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I think it's just like I think it's very important, especially now, to just remember, like, for everybody really, that like we have a responsibility if we want to see certain types of art flourish to support those types of art. If you want to see concept art remain as a creative medium rather than getting taken over by a bunch of cash-grabbing losers, then support concept artists. Support movies that hire concept artists. Go and watch sci-fi films. Go and watch films that hire those kind of people. And, publicly talk potentially even and like repost and like, encourage people to go and look at that kind of stuff if it's what you care about. I think that's a reason that, it's one of the things that we love about doing the Concept 101 event is that we do have some level of control about who we platform, right? We've always made it literally from the first year, because AI has been a thing since the first year that we set up the event. It's always been a rule for us that we do not platform people who are going to go on stage and talk about how the industry is going to die and everyone's going to be replaced with AI. Not because we don't think that there's, any validity to hearing other opinions, but because our event is for people who like concept art.
We are trying to celebrate art.
Yeah. So why would we have people who don't care about that? That's all to say, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered it there. We can move on to the next thing. But just be aware of what you're consuming and consume things in a way that allows you to appreciate them and hopefully allow for more of those things to be created.
And I mean, this extends to comic books, to books, to music. Like if you buy an album, if you buy a vinyl, like I think no one could have guessed that vinyls would become as popular. Like I think there's never been today, this year is the most vinyls sold in a year.
Yeah.
And
wow, interesting.
Like 10 years ago, they were dead, And why? Because people liked it and started buying them again, right?
Yeah.
I think people like the tactile feeling of having something.
Yeah.
Which
like
again,
that.
I mean, it's so relevant, I think, to all the stuff that we talk about, just to be like, every AI bro and like everyone who's like, it's inevitable, it's the future. It's like, well, as we've said many, many, many times on this podcast, nothing is inevitable and nothing flows in any particular order of time. Anybody who,
anybody who thinks they can just predict it that way is
anybody who tells you that something is going to happen is almost certainly either an idiot or trying to sell you something. And while I think like we, maybe we also have a horse in the race, so to speak, right? Like that's why we're so adamant about these things. I don't think we would ever claim to know what's going to happen. I think we're sitting around and we're waiting to see, just like everybody else. But anybody who says AI is never going to replace you, and anybody who says AI is always going to replace you, both of these are opinions that are just like really not thought out, essentially.
Bit of a stupid sentence, but we only live in the present, right? And
that's
so
very Buddhist of you.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but it's not. So like deep. Things
Put
will
on a t-shirt.
Things will happen. Yeah. Concept 101. We only live in the present. Come to our in-person event.
Yeah.
Just control what you do at that time, what you support at that time, and see how things evolve in the future. But
absolutely,
so you only control what you do right now.
There is always a process to madness of supporting things.
That was a weak transition.
I decide what's a weak transition.
There is always a process in the what did you say?
What's your subject? Say your subject, and then we'll workshop
that sounds like a
transitions.
Warhammer quote.
There's process in the madness.
In the madness, like an introduction, or like a Fallout introduction, like war
never changes. Yeah, just like my process for concept art.
However, I guess a better transition would be, now that we talked a little bit about AI and you guys also going to IAMAG, I know that both of you, especially Jules in this case, because Dan already done this before, have started introducing some new techniques into your workflows. I know you, Jules, are doing a bit more traditional work right now. And
which I never did before, ever.
You did.
I didn't spend
not
years.
in your professional work.
No, not my professional. That's true.
And I think in this little section, we're going to talk about recent developments in our processes and what has been changing, improving, and stuff like that. And I guess I can kick it off because I have spoken this episode, I think, somehow.
I'm sorry, man. We love listening
That's
to
fine.
you.
To be fair, I like listening to you guys. That's the thing. So I'm just there sitting, and
I'm imagining somebody sitting at home now going, I like listening to you too.
Oh, that'd be nice. Well, let's so my recent kind of development in my process is just, it's a bit more established now, and I don't know how recent that is. That's maybe like a couple months, like a month and a half recent. But yeah, I do still do sketching in my sketchbook. I have recently came back to doing more like a pen sketching over my thumbnails. So I used to do pen sketching over my thumbnails, but it was a bit more kind of like rough shading kind of sketching. I started to use, again, kind of similar to what Dan does, where it's just more confident line and less like cross shading. It's just like lines that describe like the main kind of shapes that you're going for. And then I started trying to use pencil as well, which is quite fun. I like one thing that I've discovered with sketching with a pencil. It's kind of like sketching with a pen, except you can do a lot more controlled shading.
Yeah.
So like if you, it's like I used to like, because sometimes because it's a pencil, you have the tendency of like doing many different kind of quick iterations and then rubbing them off. But in reality, it's better to just try to focus a little bit and make just one but very good iteration with confident line work rather than erasing too many things. And that way it's going to stay clean, and then you can still use the benefits of the pencil of like shading in very nicely and going very lightly to do like some simple undersketch.
Can I just say though, this is not the biggest development in your work recently. I mean, I'm quite aware of I see your personal work and stuff. Like, surely the biggest development is what you've been doing with Tom.
Yeah,
because you completely changed your process with how you digitally paint stuff. Or like definitely, I think, made a bigger transition with that than what you have with your sketching process.
Well, how I come up with like a final image?
No, like with the silhouettes, like and using masks and.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Let me just tell you how Stefan works.
I'm just like not really aware if I've spoken about it before, but yes, I have gotten very good advice from Mr. Tom
Chamberlain Keen.
Yeah. And he said that a good way to approach a painting is to design all the shapes within the painting, essentially. So when I do my painting, after I do my thumbnail sketch, I then do like a black and white sketch, essentially, but it's just flat black and white shapes. Just like the character is one shape, the building is one shape, the trees are one shapes. And I add a bit of like atmospheric depth, like whatever is more in the background is going to be a bit brighter, but it's just for readability sakes. And then this allows me to look at the image holistically, and it's just shapes, there's no texture. So if the scale is not reading, okay, how can I make the scale read? Okay, maybe if I want the tree to be big, well, the shapes next to it have to be smaller shapes. If the shapes next to it are bigger, they will, no matter what, make it feel small, or they're not gonna portray the scale as well. So there's like certain things that I can see in my image when I just do this kind of like pure black and white read and just focusing on the shapes. And then I also focus on the rhythm of the shapes and maybe whether they're pointy or whatever I want to do with them in terms of shape design. And then I move on to doing like a color sketch where I use this technique that I don't know if I'll hopefully at some point I'll do a video of it, but I unapologetically go on a shot deck. I search through whatever cinematography I like, and I will copy paste an image from a shot deck, usually totally unrelated to my scene. Like recently I used a bunch of protesters, like an image of some in the movie where there's protesters with like what is it called, like burning some stuff,
okay,
because it just had some nice color palette and a hue change between like blue and red and stuff like that. And then I blur it like into, you cannot see the image but you have the colors there, and then I smudge it around in my painting, and this way I get the color palette and some interesting happy accidents as well. And then once I have my shapes and then I have my colors, so now I solved my colors and I solved my shapes, I start copy pasting the color sketch into the shapes, and then I start just finding photos and photo bashing literally what's there. The only main thing that sometimes happens is because the shot deck file is like might not have the exact value structure that you want. Something that I always look out for as I'm starting to photo bash is that the value structure is correct. That there is from the closer to us is darkest at the highest contrast, and the further is like less contrast. And so that's like the main kind of development in my process that I've been, looking to do, and it's very, very been useful for me because it allows me to control each steps of the process. So by the time I get to the photo bash, I already know what the image is about. Now I'm just photo bashing images together, making sure the value structure works, which is kind of easier than the other.
Take your color version and then just re-clip the value version over the top as a luminosity layer? Because then it would have exactly the same value as your initial value structure.
Maybe we can talk about this at home. You can show me, but
as a screen layer.
Yeah,
maybe yeah.
But I think screen. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just technical shit, right? But
yeah,
that's cool. What about you, Jules?
Yeah. I would love to do a tutorial on this. Sorry if this was super abstract, by the way.
I mean, yeah, you should. Maybe one day.
Yep.
Could be nice. What I've been having fun doing lately, I mean, I kind of set myself as a challenge to do much more personal work this year, just for personal growth. And since we went to IAMAG, it was awesome to see the physical stuff the physical drawings that Joel did for Blade Runner and a lot of his personal work, which looks awesome, and quite motivated me to try and do more sketching, get better at fundamentals myself, because I think that's something, it's probably the thing I can improve that would help me in a broader sense in my own work, right? Because the technical aspects and a lot of other stuff like this, I think it's quite easier now. But yeah, so fundamentals and how do I want to learn my fundamentals? By doing traditional art, right? And that's something I really tried to learn lately. So I bought some sketchbooks, some Copic markers, some pens, and I've just almost filled like a whole sketchbook and doing some nicer drawings. And the way I'm kind of focusing my work and the way I'm kind of directing myself within this is that I'm trying to do a whole project, which the way I would usually do on my PC, but do it all on paper, right? And not take any shortcuts. So do proper perspective, and almost in a stupid way, not take any shortcuts. I don't want to use any 3D and copy it. I just want to do everything on paper, just because that way I do the mistakes and that way I learn. Because if I do take any shortcuts, then I won't learn it, right? And physical drawings being very unapologetic, I by default make mistakes. So that's been very interesting to do, and it's something that we talk in the last podcast we recorded, which I'm not sure when it's going to be released, but it makes you having to think much more before you actually draw.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any undos, and you cannot change your mind while you paint or while you draw. You just have to get it figured out before you start. So it's been interesting doing very early iterations. So I'm just a lot of studying of, like, I'm doing some planes. So I'm studying a lot of real planes. I actually I was in Spain a while ago, and I found a book about like all the different planes that there is, but in Spanish, but with a lot of nice pictures.
Dude, I have books on planes, a lot of different books. I have books of all sorts of jets as well, if you want them home.
Yeah, I need to show you the book I have. It's somewhere there.
Yeah, and you've got books of planes? I've got more, actually.
yeah, because I did more projects.
I just have one, and it's in Spanish, and I just look at the image like a kid.
I have two, so you lost.
But yeah, so I've been actually looking at this.
Well, I've actually designed a jet for a real project, so actually I win.
A real project? Which project?
Crater.
Designed
the heli jet.
Did I design a...
And I oh no, that was for a thing we can't talk about. But I designed it. Do you remember the thing I designed for the thing? The thing that I do little hand signals to try and dictate to Jules the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
Yeah. I did do some vehicles for other stuff, but
no jets.
No jets. No. Anyway, when we do things on the computer, we almost don't allow ourselves to get things wrong, because you can undo. Because we by now I know my tools well enough. I know my process well enough.
Yeah.
I know how to make something that doesn't look like shit well enough that failure is almost impossible, because I can always fall back on my feet. And so maybe the project won't be the best project in the world, but it will be something decent, right? Because thanks to all the hard work I've been doing over the years, now I can do decent work. Not the best, but decent work. And so with traditional art, it fully changes everything. And so, like, by knowing that I can fully fail, it almost makes the project much more enjoyable, because I'm like, oh, that's a challenge. That's like I'm actually making something which is in front of my eyes, and which is like on the paper. And it can also brings me back to when I was studying a lot when I was younger and doing a lot of traditional painting. So yeah, I've been really enjoying this.
There's something that I've recently done with traditional that I wonder, I don't really know why is that, but I was doing a sketch at work, and I did this little sketch over a 3D render, and it was super quick. It was not super finished, and I showed it to my art director, and she kind of liked it, but not really that much. And rather than going and refining it in Photoshop, I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna do a sketch in my sketchbook of the same scene, and somehow I could do the same work faster, communicate the ideas better, and it just worked. And like, I showed my art directors, and they're like, yeah, this is awesome. So and I don't know why is that. Like, for me, sketching in my sketchbook, I think some of it is to do with resolution. Like, in sketchbook, there's a certain resolution, you cannot break through it, and in Photoshop, I'm always zooming in and paying too much attention to like the line art quality, even though my line art quality is not the great. It's pretty shit, to be honest, when I sketch in Photoshop. But I guess it's just something that's interfering with my other thought process, and I can't, like, I sketch. I can do good final sketches in Photoshop, but any pre-production sketches are a lot more difficult for me to do in Photoshop. Just the final stuff.
I actually do agree, because when I started to do all these iterations on paper, I was quite scared at the start. I was like, I know that's not my strong skill at all. I'm gonna fail so fucking hard. And I studied for like maybe a week of different design stuff. I didn't design anything myself. I just studied stuff on Sketch. And then I started doing it, and I was surprised by how easier it felt than when I actually sketch on iPad or sketch on Photoshop because of the grip of the paper, because of the way, also because you kind of learn the pen after like doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And so it's been a very, very rewarding and learning a lot as well. So yeah, I would definitely advise anyone to at least the sketch part, try and do it on paper, try and do that, because you probably, it's so unapologetic that you inevitably learn a lot by doing it.
And I have another question that just related to when I'm sketching, I find that I have trouble when I sketch, I tend to divide everything into even spacings. Like it's just something that's rooted deep inside of me. Like I'll just sketch and then I'll take a step back, like in Photoshop, and I'll just see that everything is evenly spaced out somehow. And I have to go in and like re-erase half of it and be like, okay, I'm gonna move this tree to the left, the character to the right, make sure there's uneven spacing, and it creates a bit more rhythm. I wonder, like, is this something that you struggle with, or maybe I'm just wondering, like, I just naturally ended up being a person who just like space out everything naturally. I am getting better at the uneven spacing because I've been really trying to do it from the get-go when I sketch. But I'm just wondering.
Well, I guess, if I do a thumbnail on the iPad or on Photoshop, I'm just gonna erase, move stuff with the lasso tool a lot, and so like my sketching process is very adaptive in a way that
Iterative.
I'm not iterative, but not. I'm not gonna do like 5 sketches. I'm gonna do one, and I'm gonna modify it on the go. But it's not like, oh, I did a mistake, I'm gonna change it. It's almost like the way of drawing on tablets is rotating things, like stretching them, tweaking the perspective, and that kind of. And so that's the way I would sketch using digital tools, compared to on paper. You cannot do that. And of course, I haven't done much thumbnails and keyframes sketches because that's not what I'm focusing on right now. But yeah, a lot of the designs I try to make, they're shit, And then I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't work. That one works more. Why? Okay, and then I'm going to do a new one, or I'm going to redo it, because that's what you have to do. You have to redo it. You cannot erase it, except if you're using a pencil. And I'm going to modify this piece of, I was doing planes, piece of this plane to feel better. But even now, there's some stuff I finished, which I'm quite happy with it. But a lot of others, I'm like, oh, well, I like this part of the plane, but the other parts I really don't like, because the proportions, like the wing is too short, or like, I didn't think that adding some Copic color here, because it's red and not blue, or because of whatever, it messes up the weights of the whole plane because of the color I did on top later on.
Yeah.
But I did it, so now I guess it's just I'm learning things as I go for it, and I will apply this to the next iteration I do of the plane, and hopefully do something final with a final design. But it's definitely, I think I said that many times, but it's very heavy learning, I guess, because it's very heavy mistakes, which means that I try and learn a lot from them. Right, I'm not just doing mistakes and like smashing my eyes in the wall. I'm just trying to adapt.
So as we're here, we would want to ask Mr. Daniel over here, what has been your recent developments?
I've been doing fine. I'm all right.
No, say something.
We're so close to the end. I feel like I should just leave everybody in suspense forever. But I've always been somebody who likes to change up their process. I have my work process, and then I have what I do in my own time. And I've always tried to just do different things to get different approaches, and because that's what I find engaging. I would say recently, 3D wise, I've been using a lot of Blender sculpting just to create lots of weird shapes, which has been great fun. That was actually the basis for a lot of my recent projects, which was great. But honestly, I think I was talking to Jules about this earlier. I think one of the things that I've always really loved about art is the difficulty of it. It wasn't something that I feel like that necessarily came naturally to me. Although I've always been doing art as I grew up, it required a lot of practice and seeing. And so recently, I felt like my process, I think, has become a little bit too predictable. Maybe using 3D, then painting over, then going back to 3D, doing this kind of stuff. And I think the thing that has made it less enjoyable for me is just in a very benign way that I know it will look good at the end. which is a weird thing to say, but after you've been working in the industry for a few years, especially when your job is creating appealing images multiple times over and over again, you do get used to achieving quality regardless of kind of like how you feel about the imagery, right? Because that is the job. It's like you're always going to make a good image no matter what. So for me recently, I've just been trying to shake that up pretty much, and breaking up my process. I've been looking at like lots of more kind of like old school quote unquote art, concept art from like the kind of like earlier like 2010s, 2000s. And even stuff from like Ralph McQuarrie. So like Jules, I've been doing loads of sketching. I've been doing lots of images without 3D or with like very basic 3D bases, using Copics again, and just painting a lot more, which has been really fun. I don't know honestly if it's going to result in better work, but I think at the end of the day, it's just making the process fun for me.
You're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna learn a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm learning a lot, which is great, and that's always the goal. So for me, it's more about just having fun and all that. But I think that brings us, having fun and all that, perfect words to end on pretty much. I think that brings us up to...
It's time for you to actually have fun and stop listening to us.
Yeah, it's time for you to go out there and make some goddamn art.
Yeah. Some amazing art.
Yeah. So I don't know. Or can you?
It was a very self-centered episode. I guess we talked about our IAMAG and then about us a lot, but hopefully it's still interesting.
Well, it is a podcast where we are almost exclusively the people who speak.
Yeah.
So sorry, gang, but what were you expecting, really?
Yeah.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode, we release new ones every 2 weeks. So please feel free to subscribe and ring the notification bell. We hope you enjoyed listening, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
See you.